Hey, what's going on, everybody? Look at Bitcoin right now on the weekly chart. You could see this candle right here is attempting to break out into a new all-time high. But even more important to me is the close of that. Yes, we have 6 days left until the weekly candle close. Let's see if Bitcoin can close out the week above this black line, which is sitting at 65,507 thereabout. Right? So that would be a new all-time high weekly close. The last time we had an all-time high weekly close was November 8th, around that time period, right? That was actually when my son was born. He was born on November 10th. And so we have this candle right here. This was the highest weekly candle close. And right now, if the candle were to close where it is, that would supersede that previous candle, which means Bitcoin has successfully closed an all-time high on the close. Right now, in order to get an all-time high, we would need to close above this wick right here, which is about 69K. We'll just say 69K. And right now we are literally a hop, skip, and a jump away. So from here to here, we're about 2% away. So that's, 2%. It's basically, we're almost there. Now the question is, are we going to get it, right? And how impactful is it going to be? Now I'm going to say a couple things that might ruffle some feathers. And I'm going to say a couple things that maybe people don't agree with. But I'm not doing my job if I don't say them, right? So if it were up to me, if I could control the price of Bitcoin, I would not want it to break out yet. I would want a correction first, then a breakout. Why? Because it's all about momentum. If Bitcoin is coming from this low here, the last time we had a correction was back in January, right? So we haven't had a correction all month, right? So this correction right here allowed for this impulse. Now, this impulse eventually will run out of steam because there's only so many buyers in the world that are willing to buy the next green candle, the next green candle, the next green candle, right? So eventually, people aren't going to want to buy anymore because they're going to wait for that pullback, right? I'm just speaking generally. I'm not saying that has to happen in general, right? So what happens? Price runs out of steam. You can see we have green candle, green candle, green candle, right? And eventually what happens? It runs out of steam and then it comes down before deciding what else to do. Now, in order to continue the price breaking out, because what do we all want? What do we want? We want the price of Bitcoin to smash through the all-time high and at an accelerated rate, right? At a supersonic rate. But if the price is coming from this low here all the way to the top, and let's say it does break out, but then the velocity isn't as much, right? So for example, if the price were to pull back, right, and then break out, then this breakout has much more velocity because it's starting from a higher point. You could see this wave is starting from here versus this wave was starting from here. So the entire wave from here all the way to the all-time high is about 85%. So we're 85%, because think Bitcoin has so much gas in the tank, right? So it's been going, say, 85 miles, right? It doesn't have, that doesn't mean it can go 200 miles, right? But if it were to pull back and start from here and then go up, then you're only about 35% away, or 35 miles on a tank, right? So Not saying that has to happen. I'm just speaking generally, right? So, like I'm saying, if it were up to me, yes, I want it to break out. Yes, we all want it to break out. But you have to be careful what you wish for, because if it breaks out now, you might not get that big velocity breakout. Versus if you come up to this all-time high, get a little bit of resistance, consolidate a little bit, allow the oscillators to cool off, allow new money to pour in, then basically you're setting up a stronger catapult for the price to catapult out of the all-time high. So a catapult, right, or a slingshot, right? So you want to have more tension in the spring so that you can get that reaction. And the tension only gets built and tense during a correction. So that's all I have to say. Now, that doesn't mean anything. I could be totally wrong. This thing can break out and just say, see you later, bye-bye, right? But statistically, you sort of want some type of consolidation or correction before breaking out of this thing. So that's just my 2 cents, right? So you can see from here, look at this. Let's go back in time. You can see right here, we came up on a 9. Here's the all-time high. So it was $20,000. When we broke out of here, look what happened. We went sideways for 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. So we went sideways for about 30 days before breaking out to an all-time high. So let's take a fractal or a bars pattern and say that could be the case, right? And then I'll just do this, just like that. So there we go. So if I were to take that bars pattern and match it up with the all-time high, or with the previous breakout of the all-time high, you would get something like this. So because I'm a visual learner, I like to see things visually. So if I turn that on, then you can kind of see what that looks like, right? So that would take, this is the first week, second week, third week, fourth week, just basically consolidating. The price can correct through time, or it can correct through price, right? So I'm not saying you have to have, some type of spring to break out. Yeah, that would be great, because we could test the bull market support band. We can cool off the oscillators. We can pull back, right? And pullbacks are more bullish than people think, because what a pullback does is allow more tension in the spring for the next wave. But if this wave continues to go up, eventually that wave runs out of steam. And we don't want it to run out of steam. We want it to keep going, especially when you break out at an all-time high. You really want it to explode above the all-time high. But in order to get the biggest explosion possible, you need either some type of consolidation, some type of correction, or something like that, so to get the most powerful. Now, it doesn't need it, right? We can break out today or tomorrow and go pretty high. But if you want to go even higher than that, you sort of want some type of consolidation, just like we had back over here, right? You can see right when we got to the all-time high, it stalled out for the 8 candle, the 9 candle, the 1, and the 2, right? So not saying that has to happen, but I'm just saying, hey, if it happens, that's actually a good thing. So you sort of want to keep your expectations in check, right? So that would be sort of the idea here that I'm presenting today. Now, there could be another bigger idea, or a longer correction, which is you have a left shoulder, you have a massive head, you come up here, and then you develop another right shoulder, right? So that would be a massive inverse head and shoulders. And if that occurs, right, then that's fine. That's actually not bad at all. Why? it'll allow a lot of the altcoins to catch up. And when Bitcoin then breaks out of this inverse head and shoulders, it would actually be more of a breakout than if it were to just break out now. Because look, this wave started down here, right? This wave started back in September, and it's going, and eventually it runs out of steam. But if this wave stops now, has a counter wave, then you have this whole new wave that sets up. So if I take this line, go all the way to about there, then I'm going to take that line, and then I'm going to put it right at the all-time high, right? So you can see which one was higher. Well, this one doesn't count because it was a bar pattern, but yeah, that would get you about 170K if that were to occur, if we would get that pullback, something around there. So it's just one example, right? So one thing too, like if you're expecting the price to go down and develop the shoulder and you get a big breakout, then yeah, you're pleasantly surprised. But also, if you're expecting the price to break out and then it ends up doing this right shoulder, it's the time it takes to develop that right shoulder is going to feel longer, because with investing, it's a lot to do with psychology. And at the end of the day, psychology is the main part of investing, and we all want to have a excellent psychology interpretation of the market, right? So for example, if I'm expecting the price to break out and then it goes like this, then my patience level is going to be low, because we all got to have patience, right? So if I expect the price to do this and it does do this, then I expected it and I'm going to have the patience to endure this correction. Versus if I were to expect it to do this and then it did this, it's going to feel like a longer correction, is basically what I'm trying to say. So there is a couple different ways it can happen. Both of them lead to an all-time high. So what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to either one, bust right through it, or two, have a little bit of consolidation, then bust through it, or three, have a bigger right shoulder, then bust through it? Either way, it's looking really, really good, right? So, that there's nothing bad to say. Everything's very, very bullish. And then here's the big part. This is sort of the grand finale of what I'm about to say. This daily candle right here has the ability to break out into so basically this candle closes in about 2.5 hours. Let's see if this daily candle can close at an all-time high from the previous close, right? So let's look at that. So the previous all-time high close, not the all-time high, but the daily candle close, which to me is actually more important. It's right here. So this candle right here, this number 2 candle right here. So I'm going to put a line right there. I'm going to get it right on the dot there. So that is about 67,559. So say 67,559. And right now we're at 67,143. So let me scrunch the chart up a little more. Okay, so there we go. So right now the price is down here. So what would be really, really cool is if we can get this daily candle to close above that black line. So actually let's go to like the 5-day chart. We could see it a little better. There we go. So we want this, pretend if this was the daily chart. If this candle were to close above that black line, then that means today's daily candle close would have closed at the highest close ever in the history of Bitcoin. So we're about $400 away. So let's see if we can get there. So if I zoom into, like, let's say the 1-hour chart, what's it looking like? So we have a massive engulfing red candle looks like a reversal candle, at least for the time being. So it doesn't look like we're going to get that. I mean, we could still, but after that candle, it looks pretty nasty, at least for the short time frame. So, and it's on an 8, right? Almost on a 9, and you had this Doji 7, right? So one of the things I was stating in the last video was this right here. This wave here, which is, we have a 1, 2, all of this is 3, 4, and now we're getting 5. So the question is the fifth wave finished? Let me zoom in to let's go to the 15-minute chart. It's kind of hard to say right now. I think the third wave is finished. So here we go. So I think this would be 1, 2, all of this is 3, and now we're probably going to get 4, something like that, and then we get 5. And that would finish up the 5 waves of Bitcoin. Then you would have a much more longer correction, or at least some consolidation before either the fifth wave, right? So let me zoom out and show you. So we were looking at this part right here. So do we have 5 waves in this candle, right? So for this wave, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we're at the 5th of the 5th coming up. And this 5 waves is a part of this 5th wave, which is 1, 2, 3. We have that flat for 4, and now we have 5. So we're in the 5th of the 5th of the 5th, like I said before. If I zoom into the 15-minute chart and I go back, you can see the 1 hour, you can see it pretty clearly, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in the 5th, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So on this 5th wave, we have, now we can go to let's go to the 10-minute. On this 5th wave, we have 1, 2, 3. So we still need 4 and 5. And then at that point, I think it's done, at least for a little while. Now, just because I think it's done doesn't mean it's done, right? Like we're approaching at an all-time high. FOMO kicks in, right? You know, people say, okay, we broke out. It's a new all-time high. Let's go, 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 go. But in order to get there, we still have to get through that 69K area. That's 69K. And right now we're at about 67, and we're pulling back. So, and then also if I turn on the sequential, we're coming up on a 9 on the 4-day. We're coming up on a 9 on the, I think on the daily as well. We're coming up on a 9. That doesn't mean it has to reverse or flip, right? It just means, you know, we could be getting very close to some type of consolidation. If I go to the 4-hour chart, look at that. On the 4-hour, look at that. The 4-hour 9 called this reversal perfectly, if this is a 4th wave, right? So I think, in my opinion, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the 4th wave has a 9. So we get a 1 to 4 candle correction, and then a continuation for that 5th wave. It could even do this, right? So here's the 9 here that printed these red dots, right? And it also printed this green dot down here. But we can come down and an ABC back test the red dots before that final 5th wave push to the upside. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or maybe we just go sideways a little bit, then have that 5th wave. It's really hard to know the short time how price reacts on the short time frames. So if I go to the 10-minute chart and I look at it, it looks like a bunch of choppy mess, right? It looks like we have a 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 5, so that's 3. So 1 2 3 4, and then 1 2 3 4 5. So 1 2 3 4 and 5. And the fifth wave we have 1 2 3 4 5. So that's probably the end of the third, right? So that whole thing, like I said, it would be 1 2, and this is 3, and now we get it like an ABC or some type of correction before we get that fifth wave. And then that would probably mark the top. And then once it marks the top, then if, let's say, then we zoom out. Okay, so it's all about the altcoins, right? So let's say we don't break out into a new all-time high, but we start correcting. And we do some type of correction like this, or something even deeper, or whatever. Then look at this. We have a shoulder, we have a head, and we have a shoulder. But here's the cool part. During this sort of topping structure, as we start to go sideways, or even worst case scenario, we go into distribution, right? Which was my initial theory up here, which is a rise, crash, retrace, go in distribution, go down into reaccumulation, then break out into new all-time high. So let's say if we come down here and we go in distribution, then we come down for reaccumulation, then we break out into new all-time high, it would be like a big cup and a handle, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say here is, if Bitcoin breaks out, perfect, great, let's go. But if Bitcoin starts to go sideways and chop around, either in accumulation or distribution, then we can see coins like Theta and other coins really start to pop off and really start to catch up back to their retracement levels, right? Something I've been calling for a long time. So, it really, the fate lies with Bitcoin, how it wants to play. If you look at XRP versus BTC, zooming out here on this channel, right? We broke out of the channel, we tested it, and look at this, we tested it again, and we're close to a 9. Let me go to the weekly chart here. I'm just showing you this because I think alts are in a good spot to have a reversal. And in order for altcoins to do well, in order for altcoins to have that big reversal against their Bitcoin pairs, you need Bitcoin to cool off, right? And maybe, just maybe, we're getting that cool off phase. So like I said, I don't really care what happens to Bitcoin. If it has a correction, that's perfectly fine. It allows the alts to catch up. If Bitcoin breaks out into a new all-time high, that's also perfectly fine, even better, because it buys the alts more time, right? Then eventually when Bitcoin starts to fizzle out, goes into distribution, that's when we can get a crazy alt season, right? I mean, we're already experiencing that alt season now, right? So on the bottom is the price of Theta, and on the top is the price of Bitcoin. So we have Bitcoin approaching an all-time high, right? So now we'll run through some ideas. So we have a shoulder, we have a head, we have a shoulder. If Bitcoin does that, it's going to play around up in here a little bit. So we could probably come down and back test the breakout zone before pumping back to the upside. If Bitcoin is going to consolidate or have a correction that's more sideways chop or accumulation or even distribution, basically going sideways up here in a tight range near the all-time high, then we can get a little pullback and a big continuation for Theta, which is what I'm expecting to happen. So I think Bitcoin finds a little bit of resistance, just like it did when it broke out into its new all-time high before, when it went from 20 all the way past 60. It found some resistance. So we'll see how that plays. But either way you look at it, Bitcoin is basically almost at its previous all-time high. We are getting some resistance. We had some divergence. We have some things to be cautious about. But even if those were to play out, worst case, we get a correction, which is good. Corrections are bullish. Corrections are what continues the price of markets. But then it also gives the alts a chance to catch up. So we're kind of like in a win-win situation here, really. So the main count here for Bitcoin would be, and I've said this before, is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? And we're in the middle of that fifth wave. If this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then this is not 5, but an ABC. So A, B, and C. And we just finished C, and now we're about to dump and go into a reaccumulation before breaking out. So that could happen. We can easily, this could be an A, B, C. Everybody thinks, yeah, we're going to break out into a new all-time high. We come all the way back down to 30K and back test this area. Consolidate, go sideways a bit, then break out into a new all-time high. Right? Something like that. So A, B, C. We can get A, B, C. Right? So sort of like this. A, or A, B, C, A, B, C, A, B, C. So like some type of W, X, Y, like a massive correction before a big upswing, right? I mean, that could happen. Just running the idea, not saying that has to happen. It's looking really bullish at the moment. But that bullishness looks like it's fading because of everything I just discussed, with this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This also in here being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I think we still have another push up. So hopefully that push comes in at the end of the week for the weekly candle close to get a weekly candle close all-time high. And then from there, we get a lot of bullish momentum, a lot of FOMO, and then from there, Bitcoin just goes crazy, right? So that could also happen. So which one is it? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and figure it out as we go. But, like I said, it's not really about Bitcoin. It's about the altcoins, and depending what happens with Bitcoin, right? Because if this were to happen where we get a pullback, something like this, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then we go something like that, then that creates rotations for altcoins. Because when Bitcoin's going green candle after green candle after green candle, it's really hard for alts to sort of outshine Bitcoin because all the attention, the media is focused on it. But then once Bitcoin sort of goes in the closet, right, sort of goes in the shadows and goes sideways, then the alts start to say, okay, it's my time to shine, right? So, and that's sort of what I'm thinking and what I'm hoping and what I'm expecting. Now, this type of consolidation can happen different ways, right? Because one, we broke above the bull market support band. We haven't tested it yet. The bull market support band is sitting at $45,500. So that's how much wiggle room we have. 65, 75. We have $2,000 of wiggle room for Bitcoin. I'll repeat that. We have $22,000 worth of wiggle room for the price of Bitcoin. So eventually, Bitcoin is going to backtest the bull market support band. That's another reason why I wanted it to happen here, right? So the bull market support band's continually going up at a fast rate. we want it to test it. If we test it and we confirm it, then we can continue higher. But if we break below it, then I'm going to start to think, okay, now we're going to start retesting between 40 and 45K, somewhere in this range, right? Something like this. So this is the range right in here. Now, of course, if we break that, then this would be the range, 30, 31K, right? So just run it through real quick, and then I'll move on to the alts. So a few different options, right? We can have a cup, or an inverse head and shoulders, something like that. We can have basically just some sideways chop, some consolidation before a pop, and then continue all-time high, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, something like that, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Either way, some type of correction here, just like we had a little correction here. It's really small, you can't really see it, but it was there, right? And that was, believe it or not, that was 4 weeks worth of correction. Or we can just simply break out of here, right? And then the other one would be to say that this is an ABC, or some type of retracement that got back to the all-time high, and now we're going back down to back test this area, or even this area, or somewhere in this area, right? So we came all the way up here, we come back down, we chill in here for a little bit, back and forth, then we break out. So in between this one and in between 30 and in between 45. So there's a gray area in there. So you could see all this cluster of candles right here. You just sliced right through. So we can come down here and fill those gaps, right? Fill in that volume profile before going higher. And that would basically conclude, if that happened, then my original theory was right all along, which is rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. And if that occurs, that's fine. I mean, hey, that is what it is. We all want Bitcoin to break out. I think it will. I just think, we are running into some resistance. Let's see how it plays out. So I'm not going to say anything more than that. Because, for me, looking at the price of Theta, we're nowhere near where we need to be, right? We're still at $2.34. So let's go to the 2-day chart. Throw on the sequential. For the price of Theta, we did get the weekly close above this high, above $1.66 area, right? So we're above it now, and we're staying there. It's not like we broke it and then quickly sharp reverse. No, we're staying above this line. You can see this line was this line and this line was pretty strong resistance, and now we're staying above it pretty nicely. So a couple things can happen. One, we can consolidate, and back test these areas and continue higher, and that would be awesome, because that would be a big 1 2 1 2 with a big breakout, right? Or we have something smaller and we just sort of flag out and continue higher. I hope we get a bigger one, a big correction. I mean, it would be cool if Theta's at $2.35 almost. I wouldn't mind it going all the way back down to 150 and getting that big 1 2 1 2, right? And if we got that big 1 2 1 2, then and then if you look at where Bitcoin is, that could line up with Theta, right? So if we get a big correction in Theta, or something like Bitcoin where we come down, right? Because we have the divergences, we have the daily 9, we have the 4-hour 9, something pretty big. By the way, I don't think that's going to happen yet. I think Bitcoin still has a little bit more of a push to go before that happens. But considering either way, we get some type of pullback. Theta gets a pullback, back test this area, we get that 1-2-1-2, and then even if Bitcoin doesn't break out to new all-time high, let's say it just goes into a retracement, or let's say it just plays around up in here, I still think we get a big move in Theta, because we all know that Bitcoin going sideways is very bullish for the price of Theta. So that's sort of my main thinking here, is what you see on the screen right now. So for Bitcoin, a pullback. Now that doesn't mean now or even next week, but eventually we get some type of pullback where Theta does too, before a bigger pump to the upside. If we don't get that, then we go up and we get it later. But either way, I think it's coming. I mean, you can see the massive divergences from the alts, right? You can see Bitcoin going up, Theta going down. Now Theta's starting to catch up. So you could see up, down, right? So then once Bitcoin goes down, or when Bitcoin goes sideways rather, then you can really start to see it catch up, right? And then see how it met up back over here? They were basically matched up. We can match up again up here. Now shifting over to XLM, it looks like yesterday we did get the daily close. Let me go to the daily. Yeah, so we got a daily candle close above the all-time high, or above this range which we've been in. So here's our range here, and we've been in that range since going back to August, so well over 6 months. And now we broke above the range, right? So now let's look at the retracement level of that range. So we hit the 618 and we got rejected, right? We came up, bam, we hit it, and then we came right back under the 50. And that's to be expected, especially if Bitcoin has that first initial dump, right? So if it is going to correct, then that sort of, you can expect that. But then once sort of Bitcoin levels out, consolidates, you can really start to see them take off. Because what we really want to see, zooming out on XLM, is to break above this high right here. So this one right here, right at 0.150, and right now we're at 0.146. So if we can get a close on that, that would be awesome, a daily close. So we're approximately about 3% away from that. I don't know if we're going to get it today. Like I said, going back to Bitcoin here, and the daily candle still looks nice, still looks strong. Go to the 15-minute. You can see, actually, let's go to the 1 hour real quick. Well, we did pull back, actually. This red candle was looking pretty nasty. We were at 66,885, and then we pulled back up. So now, if I zoom into the 10-minute, we're still fairly bullish, right? And we're sort of gradually moving up, right? So we're going sideways, you break out. You go sideways, you break out. You go sideways, right? You got some divergence playing here, right? You can see from here, we're going up, RSI, we're going down. So, I mean, what does that mean, right? I mean, Bitcoin's taken it out many times. So, yeah, I think Bitcoin is either finishing up this third wave, like I said before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, So either way, I still think we got some upside to go with Bitcoin. Now the question is, does that upside break us out into a new all-time high? And if so, how do the alts react to that? And then if not, and we start to just go sideways or pull back, then that's actually even good for the alts too, because they can catch up, right? So either way, I think we're in a good spot. And even on XLM too, it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 3, right? So that's 1, 2, 3. And now we're probably getting wave 4, just like Bitcoin, right? I think Bitcoin's also in a wave 4, and then we're going to get that wave 5 on the 10-minute chart, right? That's important. When I talk about waves and things, it's important to know what time frame I'm talking about. All right, and then looking at the 2-week chart of XLM, look at this. We have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. Hopefully we get that breakout. Now look what XLM did, right? Doesn't that kind of look like what Bitcoin's doing? Look at that. Here's the all-time high of XLM, right? And look, it looked like XLM was going to break out into a new all-time high, but it didn't. It came up here and then it went all the way down, right? So what if that happens with Bitcoin, right? You see what I'm saying? So here I got both charts side by side, XLM on the bottom and then Bitcoin on the top. And look what XLM did. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but it could be possible that we get something like that, right? Where, you could see XLM came all the way up here, or all the way down, came all the way back up to the all-time high, played around a little bit, then went all the way back down. Then it went into reaccumulation, and then hopefully we can get that big breakout. And that's usually kind of what happens. Now, how is that possible if Bitcoin's going to go down? I don't know, right? But if you look at what Bitcoin's doing, right? Just talking worst case scenario here. Here's the all-time high. Same thing what XLM did. We came all the way up in this U, right? So what if we come down like this, all the way down here, then go sideways, then break out into a new all-time high? That's possible. Now, when you look at both charts, you can kind of see, the differences, right? So, do I think that's going to happen? It's too early to say. It would be foolish for me to say, yeah, that's going to happen, or no, it's not. Just don't know until we get more information. You can see all these candles up here. You can see how it goes red, green, red, green, red, right? So that was indicating reversal. So that would be the first clue. The second clue would be if you look right here, right? You can see, actually, let me make this, there we go. You could see here's the breakdown level. We came down and then we retested it as resistance, and then that's what set it off. So going to Bitcoin, if this were to happen right here, where we get something like this, boom, 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 which by the way would be really good for alts. It would catch them up into the retracement levels, even maybe break some out, right? Depends how fast they can get going. So then we come down, and then here's the trick. Here's the kicker right here. Here's the resistance. Now, if we come back up and we retest it as resistance, then it becomes more likely that we would do something like XLM, right? Come down, then go sideways, then continue out, right? So number one, we would have to have this. Number two, we would have to have this, right? And then number three, we could still get that, right? Looking at them both side by side here, a lot still has to happen for that to play. But it's important to point out, because if everybody's expecting a breakout and everybody's longing Bitcoin, usually it goes on the opposite side. So I'm not saying that has to happen. I think we have a very good chance at breaking out into a new all-time high, but I want to see either it prove it to me, or we get some type of correction, a bullish correction that slingshots us out, and we can say see you later, right? So yeah, time will tell. Looking at XRP, zooming out, still looking at this fractal here. You could see all the points here. Let's see if we can break out of here. I mean, we're right at that area. You could see, we broke out of this correction. Now let's see if we can get that impulse to the upside. That would be great. Yeah, so zooming out, go to the weekly chart. The big goal for XRP is obviously getting through the retracements, and we still have plenty of room to get there, right? At least let's hit the back to over the swing high of 93-94 cents. And then also, this is the zone right here to get through. This would be the second zone to get through, and then this would be the final zone to get through. So we're still very early. Now this thing can happen in 1 or 2 candles. We know how XRP likes to go. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty bullish. We're back above the bull market support band. If Bitcoin's going to correct, you see the bull market support band here. Maybe we come down, we test, and then go. Could totally happen, right? Another thing too is if you look at this, you can kind of see sort of like a cup and a handle here, right? And subjectively, where you put that trend line is where the breakout is, but you could see XRP is breaking above this downward resistance line, or this sort of cup and handle pattern. So the measured move of this cup and handle, if I did it on the bodies up here, right about there, we can get up to that 90-cent area, right? So if I did it on the wick, if I did it from this wick here to the top of there, we can see approximately, I think it was at $1.06, yeah, $1.06. So around that area. So yeah, I think it's looking pretty bullish. We have like I said, a parallel channel down in here, and we're at the bottom of the channel, right? And then also let me take everything off the screen and show you something really important that I tweeted out here, and then I'm going to wrap it up. But basically, this is our sort of back test zone right in here. So that's our back test zone. You can see this was resistance here, resistance here, resistance here. We broke out, and now look, we support, support, support. So a triple back test right there. So yeah, so here was our range, just like with Theta, just like with all the others, right? You can see, like, if I just pull up ADA real quick, you could see it doesn't matter what chart, but pull up the range. Here's your range, right? And then you break out of the range. Coins are just barely, most of the coins are barely just breaking out of their ranges. XRP has been broken out of its range, and this whole entire time it's been back testing its range. So here was the range here, right there. And then we broke out of the range, and now we're back testing it, right? So, and then, right, we had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, or maybe a sort of a running correction, right? Where the C leg doesn't go all the way down, but it makes sense because it's basically you break out, you back test, and then you have a 1, 2, and that 1, 2 also back test. So that's very bullish. And then plus, we have this line here breaking above this, this sort of this cup and handle pattern. I mean, depending how you draw the line. Now let me zoom in here. Let's go to the daily chart, and we can draw it there. So I'll draw it on the close of the daily. So somewhere about right there. Yeah, either way, if you put it here, here, or even up here and come down, even if you did it real conservative, it's still, we broke it. So we broke out of this downward resistance line. Now let's keep the momentum going, right? And then hopefully this is sort of like a 1, 2, and now we're in the middle of 3, 4, and 5. That would be great. Or Bitcoin has a correction, then we can get something like this, right? Where we had a 1, 2, 3, and then another 1, 2, 3. So you break out, you back test, you retest, I should say, the bull market support band and the downward resistance line, then continue marching higher. That would be great. So either way, I think we're looking really, really good. Like I said, when in doubt, zoom out. You could see we broke the range. We back tested it 1, 2, 3 times. So we're looking really, really good. Now, let's zoom out even further. Let's go to the 2-week chart. You can see an engulfing candle on the 2-week candle, right? So for the goal for this 2-week candle is to close above 66 cents, and better yet, to close above 74 cents. So we got the rest of the week to do it. Let's see if we can get it done. Obviously, we've ran into a lot of resistance, right? I mean, you have resistance here, resistance here. So if I put a line through there, and then you also have all of this too. So this line is very significant, going all the way back over here, right? So you have that sort of 64 cent line, 65, or I should say between 58 and 62 up to around 66. So that 60 cent area is pretty significant. I mean, you can see resistance, resistance, support, support. We broke below. Now it's acting as resistance. We want to break out of that line. That line is like sort of the mean of XRP. It's sort of the middle line, right? So yeah, this line is very important. So we break out of this, I think we have a really good chance. I think XRP, in my opinion, is going to be one of the greatest moves we've ever seen. I mean, if you haven't seen it already, I can put it in the link, or yeah, I'll put it in the link in the description. The reasons why I believe XRP is bullish. So it was actually I think it was the most popular video that I did. But one of the reasons is a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. And then there's a lot of other reasons. And like I said, I'll put that link in the video description. I think, our former president has also something to say about it.
Don't invest in XRP, then you must have a mental problem, because honestly, it's the best. Don't invest in XRP, then you must have a mental problem, because honestly, it's the best.
Okay, I guess you heard it from the man himself. It's the best, right? You gotta love AI. It's too funny. Um, yeah, I think we're at that stage, right? Bitcoin's at an almost an all-time high. Altcoins are breaking from the ranges. Now they're starting to get closer to the retracement levels. You have some coins like XRP, XLM already at potentially the end of their reaccumulation levels. So there's a lot of moving parts, right, that can happen. So we're all just going to sit back and enjoy the ride. And like I said, if we get a correction, that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing, because it allows certain things to happen for Bitcoin to continue pushing higher. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But anyways, guys, not financial advice. I appreciate you guys. It'd be awesome if you could hit that like button and leave a comment. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Cheers.